What's up, everybody? Good evening. Chris Jacobs here, and this will probably be the last video I make. I got a lot of work to do, and this is probably the last video that's needed because this kind of explains pretty much what's going on. So today I set up a time to sit down in person with the appraisal district and the chief appraiser, a few other people. I'm not going to mention names, mainly because you people that are going out there and searching these people's home addresses up and showing up at their houses, you're sick. That's ridiculous. Let's stop the nonsense. Hopefully what I'm about to tell you will help curb some of that. But if you're that person that's taking these people's addresses and posting them everywhere and showing up at their damn houses, you need help. So essentially, kind of getting a feel for how they assess properties was an eye-opener. And it's something that we should think about as voters and residents of Wilson County. So essentially, realtors, when they assess a property, they use a system called MLS. It's a multiple listing service. It's run by the San Antonio Board of Realtors. There's MLSs all over Texas. And what we do is we try to find, if you call me to do a listing presentation, I'll sit down and I'll do a comp summary of everything kind of around you that is similar in square footage and acreage, whatever the case is, and use that to assess your property. And that's my opinion of value. I am not a licensed appraiser, so I'm not giving you an appraisal. I'm giving you an assessment of what I believe the market value of your home or property is. That's important to note, so remember that. We're going to come back to that. So when I give you that assessment, that's what I list your house at or your property at. It's really kind of based off the market. Sometimes the market's a little higher, sometimes the market's a little bit lower, but we are able to access in real time that data. The appraisal district, the people that set the appraisal values for our properties, they are not able to access that stuff in real time. Matter of fact, they are so limited in the amount of data that they have that a lot of what they're doing is kind of just throwing it into a program to interpolate data. I don't even think that's a word, but they use it, the state does, for this program or something like that. Anywho, so basically to sum it up, a few years ago, the state passed legislation stating that you couldn't assess a property over what a reasonable person could sell that property for. That's probably not exact language, but I'm too dumb to go back and try and research it. But that's generally what it said. So appraisal districts got that. Cool. That's how we got to assess it. Appraisal district is an office of the state. Essentially, the state appoints, there's a board. There's a board, and the board appoints who works at the appraisal district or manages the appraisal, something to that effect. Politics, I don't get into that. Essentially, they are provided a program, and that program, they have to take any available data they can get from Realtor.com, Zillow, people bringing in closing disclosures, any kind of deeds that show pricing, stuff like that. That's the information they use to extrapolate data and put it into this program. Well, then this program takes it and runs it through this calculation process that spits out different calculations for different size lots. So like, for example, if you take a third or a 0.25 acre lot and it sells for $25,000, it comes in and it moves it over to this system and it creates a median number based on that number. Well, that median number comes out to like $90,000 per acre. Sounds crazy, but this is how this program works. And then it takes and it goes to another tract of land, another size, 1 acre or, half acre. And it puts it into a system and says, okay, well, this sold for this much, so at a half acre, extrapolating the data or whatever that word is, it populates another number. Well, that number is, $70,000, whatever. And it creates the median number with which they have to use. The state requires it because the state goes back and looks at this and says, oh, you got to hit this, ratio or whatever it is and use this data. And that's how you got to assess the properties. So basically what we're seeing is most of you that have a home on an acre, your legacy ranches, your vintage oaks, or your reserve legacy ranch, your rosewood, most of y'all stuff is probably pretty on par or maybe even a little undervalued. I don't know that I've even done one so far of all the ones I've done that puts you over. So what you want to protest is condition. If you have certain conditions to your house that feel like that devalues your house, take your assessed value, take a look around your neighborhood on Zillow or wherever, and you can see what some properties have sold for and see, okay, are you kind of in line with that price per square foot? Because if you are or under that, and you want to protest your value, you need to protest it on conditions. So your specific conditions to your house that you feel like devalue your house. Faded paint, rot trim, trim wood that's rotted, roofs beat up from a hailstorm, grass is dead from lack of water in the Lake Valley area or inability to water, things like that, physical changes to your property that could diminish the value. That's what you want to protest with. That's the information you want to protest with. Not that we don't want to provide you CMAs, but for most of you with a house on an acre, there's really nothing we can do for you because your assessments, they're taking the house, they're assessing the house at a number, and they have to take and break out your land and calculate into this state-run program what the land is worth based on tables. So Wilson County is broken up into land tables. And because Wilson County is so unique in its various different types of neighborhoods, some neighborhoods fall into different land tables with nice neighborhoods. So those neighborhoods that aren't so nice are going to get assessed kind of along the lines of what the nicer neighborhoods are going to get assessed at. Unfortunately, I wish it was vice versa, but sometimes it works that way, sometimes it doesn't. But understand, the chief appraiser, the appraiser that's running all of this, he's not creating your value. He's not saying this is what I think it's worth. He's extrapolating what's available to him, which is minimal. I mean, I walked in there with hundreds of comps, and he's got not even a fraction of what I've got. So if you're in a land table where a property sold for, who knows, $1 million, whatever, and it's 20 acres or something crazy like that, in that land table, he's got to take that. It's got to go in that state-run system. They require that. Then he has to take that and extrapolate it and break it down per acre. And instead of like we do it, we take and we pull an average. And what's your average price per square foot of all your comps? He has to use all that sales information, put it in the system, tabulate the data through the system, and the system spits out numbers and assessments of what they value at. A lot of it's because there's 42,000 tax accounts. It's not possible for this man to systematically and efficiently run this system to allow to assess the properties correctly. So he had to reduce the amount of tables so he could get to it all and assess it right. A lot of it lies in that a lot of people, they haven't had their taxes assessed in years. So Wilson County had to run catch up and implementing the system, which has been in place for a while, but doing it the right way brought out a lot of misnomers and valuations. Now, that being said, I want y'all to understand, rural tracts of land, independent 1 acre tracts, where I'm seeing the discrepancies the most is rural land and like 1 acre, 2 acre tracts by themselves. And then, the house that's on an acre that has 4 acres around it and the 4 acres around it is assessed at what the 1 acre should be assessed at. Y'all need to protest that. Take the comps you're getting from me and other realtors, and that's what you protest with. And they will look at that and they will assess your property accordingly. The problem is Texas is a non-disclosure state. We, as Texans, vote for our representatives, and our representatives represent our best interest in that they don't think that we should have to disclose every single thing we purchase. They're right. In this instance, it is hurting us because I cannot, until I talk to the San Antonio Board of Realtors tomorrow, give out my comps. I cannot give them to the appraisal district and say, here, your data is wrong. Here's closed comps that show that. I can't do that because that's your information. That's properties you're closing on. And that could essentially effectively change some people's who haven't been assessed and increase their value if it's all reassessed. So there's a double-edged sword there. Do you want us to disclose it so that we can, for the most part, bring those values back to earth and risk people's who's not going up? It's kind of a double-edged sword that we are going back and forth with on how do we handle this. The appraisal district has been awesome. And I want y'all to understand, they are going to help every single person that protests. Every bit of information you can provide them, bring it. Understand though, if you bring information for your house, it can only be used to protest your house. So even if 100,000 of us protest our taxes, there's 42,000 tax cases, not that many of us. So if 42,000 of us protest our taxes, and every single one of those assessments comes down, they cannot take and do an average calculation across the board. They're not allowed to do that. They can only do it per individual. So the summary of all of this is the state has basically said, assess at market value, but here's a program that doesn't assess at market value. It extrapolates data that is wildly inaccurate because they don't have access to the type of closed sales that they need to have access to properly assess our properties, especially in a very specific type of county like Wilson County. This goes for every single county in the state of Texas. You are all assessed using this program, and this program, based on what I saw today and looking at my comps, is wildly inaccurate because it is making them use properties that are not comparable and breaking them down and trying to find an estimation based off of those properties and how it can fit into another property. That's not a comparable. That is not a market value. That is not a market assessment. And the state of Texas knows that, and they need to correct it. But the problem is that the Zaffarinis and the legislature that we have, they're not doing it. They're not assessing it. They don't care. They're not looking at it. So we as voters need to speak up. If you are protesting your property taxes on rural property or even anything, and they go and they reduce your taxes and you say, hey, here's my data, you need to be on the phone, the very next phone call with your local legislature, with Judith Zaffarini, with all of the people that are responsible for our county in Austin and the actual Texas state legislature, because Judge Jackson got nothing to do with this. This is state level malfeasance. The amount of data that they have is ridiculously low compared to what I have. And if I provided all of my comps, I am confident that just raw land would bring down values ridiculously, dramatically. But we as Texans, we don't want to lose that right of non-disclosure. We don't want to have to present our closing disclosure when we close on a property. It's just something that, it's a right we have. So there's a balancing act there. The best way to win is protest. A lot of people have asked me, why did I get raised up and this guy and this guy and this guy, but this guy and this guy didn't? If you protest your taxes at any point, it stands for 2 years. Okay, that value stands for 2 years. And after that second year, then you're reassessed. So those of you whose neighbors didn't go up, they could have been protested already once last year. And theirs isn't going to go up. But next year, it will. And yours won't. So it's going to be constant battle back and forth. So until the state figures out a better way to assess these properties, not using this silly system that they're using, we're going to be fighting this for the rest of our lives. It's unfortunate. It is not the Wilson County Appraisal District's fault. They've literally they broke it down for me. They showed me exactly what they do. And they're trying to explain that to everybody that protests. It's not their fault. It's not the tax assessor's fault. It's not the county judge's fault. It's not the county commissioner's fault. Can they put bugs in our representatives' ears up in Austin? Sure. I imagine they have contacts. That'd be great. But we got to talk to these people and these entities and say, hey, look, guys, work with us. Let's get this system corrected so that these properties are assessed properly. That's going to be really important moving forward. I hope this was very informative. I hope all these videos have been informative and help you understand kind of how the system works. Again, I'm learning with y'all. I'm getting information. I communicate to y'all. I don't hide nothing from you. These entities have been awesome about bringing me in and showing me how the system works. I've learned way more about appraisals than I ever want to learn again. I don't ever want to go through this again. But I'm here for y'all. I'll do as much as I can. I know I got a lot of comps I still got to put out. I'm going to be out of pocket tomorrow. So a lot of y'all I won't be able to get to tomorrow, but I will get these out just as quick as I can. So tune in Sunday. We have a tax seminar. It's on the Wilson County Taxpayers Association page on Sunday. Sunday. All the information. If you want to learn how to protest taxes, see how it's done, go there. Again, I don't agree with how they're assessing it, but it's not the county's fault. It's literally a system, a computer that they put it in. It tabulates some data, throws them into categories, breaks them down, and says, okay, we don't have enough true data to assess these properties off sold properties, so we're just going to, these are the numbers. This is what we got. And this has got to be, every property in that table for that calculation gets assessed at that rate. Not rate, but that amount, percentage of amount. Every property in this table gets assessed at that. Every property at this table gets assessed at that. That's just how it works because that's the only way you can do it and report it back to the state and not have the state come in and take over everything. And if the state takes over everything, good luck getting them to listen to us. So that's it. I appreciate everybody following along. Thank you, everybody, for your support. And even thank you, those guys that want to troll on Facebook. Appreciate it. I'm here for you. I'll jump back at you. Hope this was helpful. And again, I'll get those CMAs out as soon as possible. And thank you to all the realtors. Every one of you out there busting your ass to make sure that we get these CMAs out and get these clients taken care of, or these people taken care of. Y'all are the true heroes here. I appreciate the hell out of every one of y'all that's reached out to me, that's helped, that's taken some off my plate. Y'all have been awesome. Dang near every realtor in Wilson County that I know of has been involved in this, and grateful for y'all. So residents, if you get a chance, you see a realtor, tell them thank you, because they're working overtime in an already overworked market. So thank you all, and until next time, we'll see y'all around.